A couple of months ago, I made a video about one of Cyberpunk's cut side jobs, sq022 Headhunter. If you haven't seen it, I recommend watching it before going through with the rest of this video. But the gist of it is that in this side job, V was supposed to help a corpo win a game show. It was live streamed on the darknet and required contestants to do dangerous stunts around the city. In that video, I used photo mode to visualize the quest's narrative structure, using locations from the final game. As it turns out, there were actually blockouts made for the locations from the quest. Blockouts are the early stages of developing the environment using simple 3D geometry to build out the space. I messaged the same source that provided me with most of the information from the last video, which included files from a leaked build of the game. We were investigating something else, but while searching around, my source got an old version of Red Engine Editor up and running that is compatible with the files from back then. If you've seen that Moon DLC video that got posted by Parker Enterprise, it's the same program used in that. The long story short, I've now got some screenshots of these sq022 locations that I thought I'd show you in this video. Also, I hate to do this, but I'm gonna watermark these as a bid to stop people from taking these images and doing stuff like this. Maybe that makes me a hypocrite for showing it anyways, but with the right framing, I think it's worth documenting. This is prototype stuff from a leaked build and should definitely be taken as such. So hopefully the watermarks leave enough of a breadcrumb trail for people to come back to this video and get a proper explanation. Again, I won't be going into as much detail about the quest story here, so check out the previous video if it seems like I'm not making any sense. The side job began with meeting DB Wayne at the Advocet Bar, which would have been inside the Advocet Hotel. As mentioned in the last video, the hotel still stands in-game and is currently the site of the Blade Runner Easter egg. The original exterior was pretty similar but did not have the protruding part at the bottom. There is an elevator and lobby in the final game, but the elevator only goes to the roof. In this quest, the elevator would have stopped at the bar somewhere up the building. In my video, I used the bar from the Dogtown Gig Talent Academy, but now we have an actual visual of what the bar was supposed to look like. This first blockout is pretty detailed with a clearly defined layout and furniture spread around. Certainly a bit more than some simple shapes here. However, they got even further than this and there is a version that has undergone an art pass. Quite the surprise, to be honest. The Advocet Bar would have been a high-end establishment, which was hinted to in the subtitles for this quest that I covered in the last video. The lobby that is present in-game is quite run down, so it seems like the art direction for this place took a 180 after this quest was scrapped. Next up is the Capitan Caliente fish factory. The exterior of this building is still present in-game close to Megabuilding H4. In my video for the interior, I used the Kandachi factory from the Santo gig Race to the Top. As you can see though, the factory was a much larger empty warehouse. In this image you can see a small room. This would have been the control room that V had to access to unlock the doors to let DB inside. Once again, the amount of detailing here does suggest this side job made more progress than most of us probably thought. It looks like this circular tub would have been the acid vat that they would have had to fish the container out of. The container was supposed to fall off a crane, which I visualized using one of the big ass rooftop ones in Dogtown. But it looked like it would have dropped from a ceiling crane, which I believe are called bridge cranes. The warehouse is deceptively large because it would have gone under street level, so the exterior doesn't do the scale justice. The next part of the quest takes place at the Coyote Cojo. This version of the bar is very similar to what appears in-game, so it seems like what I showed in the video might not be that far off. In the final game, there is an inaccessible side room upstairs that may have been used in the mission, but I'm not 100% sure. We did notice that there was a blockout for a basement of the bar, but it looks like they scrapped it super early. I wondered why there was a road around it, then my source said it looks like the bar from the Haywood gig Old Friends. The building and lot does look similar, so I'd say this is a pretty good guess. It could have been reworked from the basement thing. Then there was a car chase taking place on a highway in Pacifica somewhere that was ultimately cut. And it sounds silly to say that about something in a side job that itself was entirely cut, But literally this is all we got from this part of the mission. So yeah, seems like this was quickly abandoned and only really existed at a conceptual stage. Finally, we have the Combat Tower / Megabuilding H4. This was the Dread-style Mega Tower shootout part of the mission where DB, Wayne, and V had to blast their way to the roof. The localizations point toward this part of the mission taking place at Megabuilding H4 in Santo Domingo, but development on this location was seemingly split between two models, one of which was a megabuilding labeled as Combat Tower sorted into Pacifica, and the other was a megabuilding sorted into Santo Domingo. For my video, I used a bunch of the megabuildings, mostly V's megabuilding with the H10 megabuilding unlocked mod and Megabuilding H8 for the roof stuff, but also Megabuilding H6 and the exterior shots of H4. In my video, I was also confused about what the Combat Tower was, and it seems like it and the Megabuilding were the same thing. I think the most reasonable guess is that had the Pacifica Freeway section worked out, then the next stop would have been a Megabuilding also in Pacifica. But since that idea got scrapped, they relocated the Megabuilding to Santo Domingo. The Combat Tower uses the same exterior colors as Megabuilding H10, probably just as a placeholder, and also features a fairly large base portion similar to the metro area under Megabuilding H7. Thankfully, my source took these screenshots in the order that the narrative goes, so I can sort of walk you through what was probably supposed to happen. So first they take an elevator into the market level, and you can see a big billboard there. That's probably what WeKill would have appeared on to announce the bounty. Assuming the shootout starts in the market, they eventually make it to a floor where they'd have to battle from one side to the other. It appears to be pretty high up, so I'm not sure if they would have taken an elevator or if there were enough stairs from the market level to get up here. But here's what traversing this floor could have looked like. Then they'd have to cross this catwalk that stretches across to the other side. It might have been something pointed out by the two when you first enter the building, as you can see it from the market level. On the other side, they would have had to wrap around the corner and get up to the elevator there. There were some leftover strings for this quest that implied that there were two major floors that V and DB had to fight through, so this elevator would have taken them to the second floor. In this image, you can see the exit from the first elevator to the entrance of the final elevators that would have taken them to the roof. And the roof is probably the most interesting thing here. It's a series of catwalks surrounded by billboards and antennas, and is unlike any other megabuilding roof in the game. Right by the elevators, there was also a large area that would have worked for a potential fight against DB. It looks like it would have been spacious enough for the trauma AV evacuation as well. This catwalk setup also makes sense given the final objective of the quest, which was to dump somebody off, and also so that V could have broken their fall somehow, maybe on the catwalk halfway up the building. While that does it for the quest locations, we also discovered an NCPD Precinct tied to the mission that was sorted under the Glen area of Haywood. As far as I know, nothing remotely similar appears in the final game. There is the big-ass City Hall building, as well as the NCPD laboratory you hit up with River during the hunt, neither of which look anything like this building. It being enclosed does remind me of Arasaka Industrial Park, so perhaps it was reworked into that, or they felt they were too similar and got rid of this idea. I don't recall it being mentioned in any of the localizations, so I don't know how it would have tied into the quest, but it's kinda neat nonetheless. And that does it for the blockouts, but I have a couple more things about the quest I want to brush up on. On the last video, Cloudbringer explained how to apply textures to meshes in WovenKit, and doing that to DB's model gives a preview of what he would have looked like. He would have had black hair with a simple outfit consisting of a dress shirt, a black tie, and dress pants. I found this absolute unit walking around Batty's hotel, and it looks like this might have been DB's outfit. This may have been a placeholder, but could also show that DB was going to be a more greasy corpo. In the last video, I also theorized why the quest did not work, and I think I overestimated the El Coyote portion and underplayed the scale aspect. I now think that there are 3 reasons it didn't work, going from most to least relevant. Firstly, the scope was simply too large. The whole point of V's story is to be a living legend, and winning the game show would be some pretty legendary shit. 2, it relied on a plot point in the game's main story where V was considered legally dead. This was also something I only mentioned in brief, but looking back, I think it did matter a lot more. From my understanding, in an earlier version of the story, V was shot dead by somebody else and would have been found at the landfill by a character called Sobchak. Then there would be quests revolving around that element, such as this quest right here, and one where V and Sobchak try to solve the mystery of who originally killed V. That too has files left over in the game, so I'd love to explore it at some point. But right now, I don't really know much else about it. And finally, reason 3 is that the El Coyote Cojo part does not fit in with what the bar is associated with in the final game. Lots of you pitched ways this particular issue could be resolved, so ultimately I think they would have come up with something if this really was a roadblock. I then pitched a rework to turn it into a river quest, but considering the first point, I think that falls apart unfortunately. Removing V's ability or incentive to win really makes it a tough one to work out. And that concludes this follow-up video on sq022 Headhunter. Hopefully the screenshots of the mission locations help to visualize how the side job would have worked. These being more than simple blockouts make it seem like this mission got a lot closer to the finish line than expected. At this point, I have several contacts with knowledge and resources of cut content, so eventually we'll have more stuff to show you. And if you'd like to contribute, then check out my channel description for ways to get in touch. That does it for this video. Thanks for watching.